Hi there, it's Darren from Emotive Training, and I thought I'd put together some videos on the basics of flash photography. If you're new to using a flash, it can be a bit daunting, so I thought I'd put some basic videos together just to get you on the right track. Now, there's lots of ways to do things. I'm just showing you how I do it. I've got many years experience as a photographer, shooting weddings and events and all sorts. And this is how I find I get the best out of the flash. Now, the flashes I'm going to use, I use a lot of the SB910, great flash. Have had some issues with these flashes. The Nikon, I had the SB900 and now the SB910. And yeah, they have their issues. The 900 was terrible for overheating, and the 910 I did find wandered a little bit, but they're expensive. So if you've seen some of my other videos, I've also used Godox. Now, if you've seen these guys before, these are awesome. TT685, they're a cracking flash for the money. Now, you're not getting the robustness quality of the SB910, but it's still a good flash. And you can buy 3 TT685s for the price of a 910. Now, I find I drop flashes a lot. They get battered a bit because they're being put in weird places. So I don't mind them breaking a £70 flash. Now, if I place this on top, now it's as simple as it clicks on and locks into place with this dial. The 910, it's just a simple click switch and it's locked in. Okay, so I guess that's how most people would have the flash positioned on their camera. So the flash is pointing at the subject, like that, and our subject today is this cute little bird. I've just put a whiteboard behind him just so we can show what happens when you actually use the flash in different formations. So at the moment it's pointing right at the bear. I use a lot of spot metering. If you know what that is, you have several metering systems on cameras. I use Spot, and I'll go into that in another video because it's quite in depth. Because I'm always about capturing skin tones and things like that. So we're going to take the shot. Switch on the camera, switch on the flash. So at the moment we're on the manual mode and we need to change that. So we simply click onto TTL. Now if you know what TTL is, it's through the lens. It's through the lens metering. It's how the camera determines how much flash it's going to use. Now I've set the camera up, if we hit the info button here, I've set the camera up at 200, 7.1 and at 200 ISO. Why have I done that? We're indoors, it's going to take a black picture, I know that. It's so we can make sure the flash is lighting the whole picture. Now you wouldn't do this normally. I'm a great believer in when you're taking a photograph indoors, you should be capturing what's going on. You shouldn't just be capturing the person. Because that's just a snap. You want to capture what's happening. So if it's at a wedding, I want it in the background, I want all the lights and the dancing. So which means I'll have to expose a little bit more, and I can go up to 2,500 ISO just to make sure I'm capturing those details. Now, if I did 2,500 here now, I'd be pretty much lit normally. So I'm not going to do that. I'm going to keep it at 200. If I switch off the flash and take a shot, let's click on there. There's our little bear. It's virtually pitch black. I think you're just about to see an outline. So let's click the flash on. So TTL, and we have a plus and minus here. So let's just set this to 0, and I'll tell you what that does in a second. Now there we go, the photograph has been taken and the bear is lit in a reasonable manner. But see how harsh this photograph is. Because you're flashing light directly at someone from such a small area, it's very, very harsh. and you're going to create these big shadows behind the subject. Now, it's not desirable. I like to light so it's a soft, even light. And to get soft light, you need a big area and quite close. So what do? Angle the flash upwards. Okay, at a slight angle. And what you want to do is to bounce up off the roof and back down onto the subject. What that's going to do is actually get the light behind the subject as well. So if we take that flash, now you can see it's just a lot softer. That harsh light has gone from behind the subject. Now what's going to happen is you are going to get a different effect. The light's going to be coming from above, but quite harshly above, which you could get some shadows under chins, noses, stuff like that. Now this is really, it happens, but you can also throw a little bit more light forward off the bounce card. So here's the bounce card. If I pull that up and let the diffuser go, here's the bounce card. Now the light is going to come out of here, bounce off the roof behind the subject, and also hit this bounce card and throw some light forward onto the subject. So it's going to give you that little bit of extra light coming from a forward angle. So let's bring this round again. And there we go. But you can now see the harsh shadow. There's a little bit creeping back. That's because you're throwing light from a small area going forward. It's not as dramatic as before where all the light came from the front, but it definitely puts that shadow back in. Now it's also going to relieve some shadows on the actual person where you're going to get little shadows off the roof, but it's really a personal preference how much flash you're using, how much you can get with ambient light, and it's up to you how you want your photograph to actually come out. Okay, so we've on this little icon on the left, it's actually telling us that the flash is pointing upwards. If you move this down, you'll see that the camera's actually recognised that the flash is now pointing forwards. It doesn't need as much light. It will actually adjust the light because it's facing directly at the subject. If you're bouncing it off the roof, it's going to need more light because it's going to be lighting the roof up, when then that area is then going to be bouncing back down to you. So it's going to need a lot more light to do that. But when it's facing forward, it doesn't need as much. So it detects what position that's in. So let's face that back up and let's take another picture. There he is. I think that's pretty good. And we want to, let's say, brighten up a little bit. How do we do that? Now, if you come into the settings on the flash, you'll have a plus and minus sign. And the plus and minus sign is your, basically just a fine tuning. So you can go up to 3, plus 3. And you can see how much brighter it is. And it's actually brought up the warning on the camera to say it's very bright. And we can take it all the way down to minus 3. And there we go, we can see it's a lot darker. Now I constantly adjust this throughout the day because you don't always want that really harsh light. You don't need as much light. Using the flash is not only for nighttime, it's also for very sunny days. Let's say you're in a wedding and you're photographing someone who's having fun, laughing and joking, and so you can't adjust them, you can't repose them so they're perfectly in the light. You have to grab the moment. But the sun is actually creating really, really dark shadows across the face, which is not very flattering. We use flash to actually lighten up those darker areas. You're not going to overpower the sun. So all we were trying to do is just brighten up those darker areas. So you'll actually find probably use more flash in the sunshine than I do any time else of the day. The nighttime we use all kinds of different techniques to grab the ambience of what's going on, not just using flash.
Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, please like, comment and subscribe.